Okay, before you all spam me in the comments saying that Cosmic Cyclone isn't free to play, it is now because of the box chips that we just got. So what box chips do is that they allow you to get old cards from older boxes for absolutely free. Regardless of rarity, it is still exactly the same price. And you get 2 of them just by buying the bundles that are in the shop right now. So that's why I'm playing 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. You could get more box chips by completing missions or maybe events in the future, but for now, I'll just be playing 2 Cosmic Cyclones in pretty much all of my future free-to-play decks, because now it is a free-to-play back removal option. And you should definitely be getting this card if you have box chips to spare, because if you look at the most popular cards right now, it is the second most popular card in the entire game, so it really isn't a reason to not get this card if you don't have it already. But anyway, we got new SPEEDROID support in the new mini box called Wings of Clearness? Yeah, this box name sounds really weird. I don't know who thought of this name. I know they're kind of following a pattern for all mini boxes to have the word off in the name, and also Clear Wing Synchro Dragon is the main monster of a set, so they kind of have to take words from its name, but they could have done a way better job than Wings of Clearness. Even like Wings of Clarity would be a bit better. But anyway, enough of a small rant. I made a video before talking about the 1 card and 2 card combos of this deck, so I won't go over the combos in too much detail, but you will see me use those combos during the replays of this video. So SPEEDROIDs are a bunch of wind machine monsters that synchro summon into wind synchro monsters. Their boss monsters are Clear Wing Synchro Dragon and Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and both of these monsters are really good monster negates, especially Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which negates any monster effects and also gains its attack until the end of the turn. So first off is our main searcher, Wind the Wind Channeler. This card can discard itself and also another wind monster to add any wind monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. And it also prevents you from activating any monster effects other than wind monster effects. So you could still summon non-wind monsters for your extra deck, like Siphon Zeta or Samurai Destroyer, but they can't activate their effects during that turn. So this monster is your main way of searching your main searcher of the archetype, which is SPEEDROID Terratop. This is the best card of our entire deck. It can special summon itself by just having no monsters on your field, and also when it's normal special summoned, you could add a SPEEDROID monster from your deck to your hand. So it's really good that it doesn't use up your normal summon, because you could use your normal summon on other things like double yo-yo, and also it searches anything. So you could search a double yo-yo if you don't have it in your hand, you could search Take Tomborg, you could search anything. So this is your main playstarter, you always want this card in your hand. Next is our main level 4 tuner, Fuki Modoshi Piper. So what this card does is when it is normal special summoned, you activate cards at the top of your deck equal to the number of other wind monsters you control, and you add 1 of them to your hand. So this basically is a free draw, and that is always nice. And you can always access it very easily using Take Tomborg, because this card can tribute itself to special summon a SPEEDROID tuner from your deck, but it also locks you to only special summoning wind monsters for the rest of the turn. And also, speaking of Take Tomborg, this card is really good because if you control a wind monster, you get to special summon it for free. And because it is a non-tuner monster, you could choose to either leave it as a non-tuner and use it as a non-tuner to synchro summon, or you can just tribute it off to summon a tuner from your deck, so you can use that as a tuner. So you have a really big flexibility here to use it as a tuner or not, and also it being a free summon is just really good for the deck. And this is our main normal summon, Double Yo-Yo. When this is normal summoned, you can revive a level 3 or lower SPEEDROID from your graveyard. This is your main way of synchro summoning using only a single card, because using your skill, which we'll talk about later, you can send any tuner from your deck to your graveyard and then you can revive it with Double Yo-Yo. So that basically gives you a free synchro monster using only a single normal summon, which is pretty nice. Next is Den and Daiko Duke. We're only playing a single copy of this card because we want to send it using our skill. So you can banish this card from a graveyard and special summon a SPEEDROID tuner from your hand or graveyard, and it is a hard once per turn. So the monster you'll be summoning is always Red-Eyed Dice. What this card does is when it is normal special summoned, you could select a monster on your field and that monster will have its level changed to any number between 1 to 6. So this is a really good way for you to make any synchro monster depending on the situation. So it gives you a lot of freedom for what you're going to do with your monsters. And also we're playing 2 copies of this card because our skill requires one of them to be in our deck or graveyard, so even if we draw one of them, we still have another one in our deck to summon. And finally is SPEEDROID Rubber Band Plane. This is a non-shooter monster that special summons itself. It says if a monster is special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, it locks you into wind monsters for the rest of the turn. And also, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target a face-up monster on the field. It loses 600 attack until the end of the turn. This effect isn't very good, but it does come up sometimes if your opponent has a big monster that you kinda can't beat over. Next up is our spells. We're playing 2 Cosmic because it's now free to obtain. And we have 3 copies of our best recovery tool, Speed Recovery. You can target a SPEEDROID monster in your graveyard and special summon it, and during your main phase, when this card is in your graveyard, you can banish it to get back any SPEEDROID monster from your graveyard to your hand, but you cannot activate this turn during the turn it is sent to the graveyard. So basically, this helps you get back 2 SPEEDROID monsters, one directly from your graveyard to your field, and the second one to your hand, so this card is both extension and also follow-up, which makes this card really good. You could get back cards like Double Yo-Yo, which itself is a 1-card synchro monster, or you can even revive Terratop to get another search from your deck. And for our final 2 cards, we're playing 2 copies of course, Cloak and Dagger. It's just a really good free-to-play trap that removes your opponent's monsters. And for the extra deck, we are playing Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and this card could, once per turn, negate a monster's effect and gain its attack. And also, if this card battles a level 5 or higher monster, during damage calc, this card gains attack equal to the current attack of that opponent's monster. So it allows us to beat over our opponent's big monsters even if they have more attack. And also it has a attack of 3000, so if it successfully gains your opponent's attack, they will take a lot of damage. Next up is High SPEEDROID Kite Drake. This is kind of like Black Rose Dragon in that when it is synchro summoned, you can either choose to destroy all other cards on the field, or you can negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent controls. So most of the time you will use its Ball Ride effect because it's just really good, and it's also even better than Black Rose Dragon because it stays on the field, it doesn't destroy itself, but occasionally you will want to use its second effect for 2 reasons. The first is if you already have other monsters on your field, you don't want to pop them as well. If you already have a synchro monster like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, you don't want to destroy it as well, so you will use its second effect because it only affects your opponent. And the second reason is Orcust, because Dingusu protects all your cards from being destroyed. So what you can do is activate its second effect to negate Dingusu, so you can just attack over their monsters and they can't protect it. It also has a second effect. If this card is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add any SPEEDROID monster from your deck to your hand. This effect doesn't really come up that much, but if it does, it's really good because it searches anything. Next up is 2 copies of Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. This is our main level 7 synchro monster. It is completely generic, and it is also a monster negate. Once per turn during either player's turn, when another level 5 or higher monster activates its effect, you could negate it, destroy it, and gain its attack. Once per turn, during either player's turn, when a monster effect is targeting exactly 1 level 5 or higher monster, you can negate, destroy, and gain its attack. It does kinda suck that it only negates level 5 or higher monsters because Xyz monsters and Link monsters don't have levels, so they kinda can't be affected by this card, and also this card can't negate combo starters, like level 4 monsters that you normal summon at the beginning of your combo, but it's still nice I guess. And the second effect is really useful against opponent's board breakers like Nightmare Unicorn because that targets a card. So if they try to target one of your synchro monsters, you could just negate it. Next is our level 5 synchro monsters. High SPEEDROID Chanbara is our main OTK tool. It is completely generic again, and it can attack twice every single battle phase. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles, it gains a bit of attack, and also if it's sent to graveyard, you add a banished SPEEDROID card to your hand. And notably, Speed Recovery is not a SPEEDROID card, which is kind of a shame, but I guess it is what it is. The next is High SPEEDROID Hagoita. This is both a extension tool and a disruption. So the reason it is extension is that it can summon itself from a graveyard if you control a SPEEDROID tuner monster, so you can use it for a synchro summon for something like a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and then you can just bring it back. And its second effect is a disruption. During either player's turn, you contribute this card to increase all the monster's levels by 1. So what this does is, if your opponent is playing a Synchro or Xyz deck, it'll mess up their levels because, for example, if your opponent is playing a Pendulum Magicians, they really want their monster's levels to be 4 or 7. But if you use its effect before they actually make their extra deck monsters, you could make their levels 5 and 8, which means they can't make rank 4 monsters or rank 7 monsters. But of course, this effect is only good against certain decks, so you might not want to make this every single time when you go first. And finally, our 2 generic synchro monsters. Cyphering World Zeta is just a really good level 7 synchro that is also disruption, and the Samurai Destroyer helps us get rid of problem cards that our opponent might have, something like a Dengusu that is immune to being destroyed. You can just negate its effects when you attack with Samurai Destroyer and destroy it. And for our skill, it is a really good one. Clear Wing Acceleration. It has 2 effects, and you cannot normal special summon monsters other than synchro monsters or wind dragon type or machine type monsters during the duel you activate the skill. So the first effect is, if you control a Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, you play a red-eye dice from your deck or graveyard to your field. That's why we're playing 2 red-eye dice. And the second effect allows you to send a SPEEDROID Tuner from your deck. Or you can choose to send a synchro monster from your field to your graveyard, and revive a Clear Wing Synchro Dragon from your graveyard, and it gains attack equal to its level times 200. So this second effect allows you to do 2 things. The first is giving your double yo-yo a target to summon, so it becomes a 1-card synchro monster. And the second use is to OTK. So here's what you do. You synchro summon Clear Wing Synchro Dragon using your monsters, you activate your skill's first effect to get yourself a red-eye dice, and then you synchro them not into Crystal Wing, but to make High SPEEDROID Kite Drake. This is a really good option going second because this wipes your opponent's entire board. So after you wipe your opponent's entire board, this stays on the field because it doesn't destroy itself. What you can do is activate your skill, send this synchro to your graveyard, revive back your Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, and since it is level 8, it gains 1600 attack, which makes your Clear Wing's attack 4100, which is barely enough for lethal. So this is the expensive version. You probably have seen this deck if you watched my last video. Basically, we're only playing more copies of Win because it searches your main searcher. Playing more copies of Take Tomborg. We remove Speed Recovery because that card is only good when you already have your combo starting. And also it's not a wind monster, so you can't discard it with wind. And we're just playing Forbidden Lands instead of Cosmic because if you're going first, it can protect your Crystal Wing from being Book of Moon. And also just good staples like Compulse instead of Cloak. And for the extra deck, it's pretty much the same, but we can also play Cyber / Harpy Lady because it is a wind monster. And it also pairs really well with the other staple spells and traps that we play, like Forbidden Lands and Compulse. We could use their effects during your opponent's turn and then trigger the effect of Cyber / to bounce a card your opponent controls. Okay, so let me talk about what I think about this deck. This deck is definitely really fun. There are a lot of things you can do with what synchro monsters you summon, or what monsters you get from Terratop, or what extenders you play. But it could get pretty difficult when you're trying to figure out new combos because of so many things you can do with this deck. I actually sat down and spent hours just thinking about combos you can potentially do with your cards and also your skill, which opens up a lot of possibilities. But I've done the hard work for you, so you can just watch my combo video and learn the combos. This deck is pretty consistent. It does have 6 main starters in the free-to-play version, 2 Win, 1 Terratop, and 3 W. All of them are 1-card starters. Win kinda isn't, it needs another Win monster, but yeah, 1.5 cards. And the expensive version has 7 because you have a additional Win, so consistency is definitely not a big issue in this deck. The big issue is disruption. because if you don't draw your Cosmic Cyclones, or if you don't draw lands, your opponent could very much just compose your Crystal Wing and you kinda can't do anything to stop your opponent. And also, the Synchro monsters only negate monster effects, so against back row heavy decks, this deck kinda doesn't do a lot to stop them. And oftentimes you're always relying on Hydrake to pop your opponent's set back row, but your opponent has plenty of ways to stop you from doing that. And also because Red Eye Dice only increases the level up to 6, and itself is level 1, you kinda can't make Drake using only double yo-yo to revive a Red Eye Dice, because it only goes up to 7, and Kite Drake is an 8. And also this deck has a real problem with monster removal. Their main monster removal is Kite Drake, it just destroys everything, but if your opponent has something like a Dengusu, which protects them from being destroyed, you're done. You can only negate its effects, but you kinda don't remove it from the field. So your opponent can still hopefully survive that turn, and then during your next turn, they can just push for a game. We could play other cards like Cyframe Lord Zeta to act as another form of monster removal, but a lot of the times the best synchro monsters aren't wind, so that is another huge problem. The best one is probably Cyber Slash. It is both a wind monster and also removes opponent's cards, but it is level 8, which means it is also pretty hard to summon compared to level 7 monsters like Clearwing Synchro Dragon, which can be made with any SPEEDROID plus a Red Eye Dice. So overall, I think this deck is okay. It's a bit better than okay. It's actually decently good, but it's probably not going to top the tier list or anything. It might get to tier 3, but the current meta decks are, in my opinion, still better than this deck. But this is definitely still a really fun synchro deck, and I really like it for that. Okay, let's take a look at some of our replays. Here we're going second, which is not really ideal, because our monsters negate monster effects, and that's really good if we go first, and less good if we go second, but we will try to make this work. Our opponent is playing Sulfur Codes. They're going to do the normal summon Cutia, the best starter. They're going to grab the level 5, activate your skills to set skills, and you're going to do a big pen summon. And by big, I mean 2 monsters. And they're just going to summon the level 5 that they search, and the level 7, which kinda doesn't do a lot against our deck. I mean, it does impact a bit, but it kinda, yeah, it kinda doesn't really do a lot, so I'm quite fine with that. Our opponent has 2 set cards, which is tiny bit concerning, but we did draw our win, so we could make Terratop, and Terratop doesn't need our normal summon, so even if our opponent pops it, we could still pop off. We're gonna grab our double yo-yo and also special summoning our Roban Plane. We will reduce our opponent's monster's attack. We will target Tomborg to special summon a level 4 Fuki Mudoshi Piper. And this allows us to activate 2 cards and add one of them to our hand. We're gonna add the Cloak, because why not? It's better than the dice, I guess. He's gonna activate a trap to pop my tuner, and also banish it using the level 7's effect, but that's fine. We'll activate our skill, setting the Deco Duke to revive our Red Eye Dice, and now we have enough for Kite Drake. We can pop everything on the field. He activates Wavering Eyes, which does nothing. I mean, he gets him a search, but he is not gonna have a next turn, because we're gonna normal summon Yo-Yo, and he realizes what we're up to, and he scoops. Our next game is also going second, which I guess? Yeah, it kind of depends on what our opponent is playing this time. We did have a lot of extenders in our hand, which is pretty nice. It's always nice to have more extenders than disruption if we're going second. Our opponent is playing Salads. When will this deck die? Anyway, they have a Link Slayer, which doesn't do anything because we kind of didn't go first and we don't have any special traps for him to pop. So in his case, it's just a extender that he could summon for his Link monsters. He's gonna Gazelle Mill, let's see, Jaguar, he's gonna make another Link, he's linking off again and again, Sunlight Wolf, Jaguar, shovel back to Balonix. Okay, I guess. I probably won't do that because Balonix has a pretty good graveyard effect, but who cares? Because he's not going to end on any salads. on his field during the end phase anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He's gonna make a Firewall, and with his broken skill, he gets to summon a Link Free to a zone that Firewall points to, so they point to each other. So now he has a single disruption. We could play through that, especially because we have so many extenders in our hand, and one of them is Terratop. And we're gonna search target Tombo, tribute itself, summon the Piper, open a single card, we'll get the Cosmic. Gonna sink her into Clear Wing, Synchro Dragon. We're gonna now summon a Rubberband Plane. And Firewall Dragon is kind of a problem, but he kind of doesn't activate it for some reason. So we get to make a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, so even if he does activate it now, it's too late, we can just negate it. Now we're gonna make another Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, revive back the Red Eye Dice with our Speed Recovery, change it to level 4, make Chanbara as our OTK machine, we're gonna attack twice, but our opponent does have a Recoded Alive in our graveyard, which kind of stops our attack, but it's fine. He's gonna summon Gazelle, Falco will bounce back to Gazelle, and he can link that off into a Billonix. And let's see what our opponent can do to break our board. Our opponent is gonna summon back a whole bunch of monsters, and he reveals that he has True King Agnibiza. That's kind of a problem, it banishes without targeting, so we kind of have to destroy it with our Crystal Wing, otherwise he could banish our monsters. He's gonna make number Unicorn, and fortunately discard target, so we could negate it with our normal Clear Wing. He's gonna try to backdoor, which does nothing, and his Unicorn gets negated, he has nothing else to do, and he will scoop. Here we have the expensive version, and we're going second again! When will we be going first? And we opened pretty good. I mean, that's full combo, but I'd much rather go first with his hand because we have Compulse. But our opponent is also playing Speedroids, so that's pretty cool. He's going to make a Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Synchro Dragon is not that big of a problem. The real problem is Crystal Wing, because that negates our starters. And our opponent is gonna activate Speed Recovery, revive back the Red Eye Dice, change it to a level 6, and then Synchro Summon into Synchro Dragon number 2. He's gonna set one and pass, that's fine because we have lands. We're gonna win to discard itself, and a double yo-yo to get Terratop, summon the Terratop effect. He is going to negate that, which is a bit frustrating, but since we already have double yo-yo in our hand, we should be fine. We're gonna activate our skill, milling the Deco Duke, summon the double yo-yo, revive the Deco Duke, Synchro Summon to our own Clear Wing, and we'll use our skill again to summon the Red Eye Dice from our deck. And we're gonna make a Crystal Wing of our own. We're gonna attack over our opponent's clearing. He's gonna negate. We're gonna negate. And he gets destroyed. He's gonna Cosmic. And Lance is perfectly fine, because what we want to do is compose his Crystal Wing, which thankfully he didn't thankfully he didn't banish our compose, otherwise it will be a really tough one. Anyway, he's gonna attempt to do his combo, we will negate it, he has nothing else to do, and he scoops again.